Indeed, you're watching Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike Migo. Welcome to People and Politics segment, this 13th day of May 2025. A lot has happened in the political scene, and also there's a lot that has been reported on our local dailies, and I want to quickly take you through that before I introduce my guests. And I will start with the Daily Nation. The enemy within is what is captured on the front page of the Daily Nation. In a rare public disclosure, the National Intelligence Service Director General Nordin Haji yesterday said the country must be told the brutal truth about the magnitude of national security threats posed by foreign militia. The spy chief said, with the exception of country's border with Tanzania, Kenya is battling incursions by insurgents along the porous borders with Ethiopia, Uganda, South Sudan, and Somalia. That story is told on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation. Blow to Gachagua as allies abandon him. Despite scoring a big win in his bid to overturn his impeachment by Parliament, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has to contend with defections that have rocked his camp recently. That story is told on page 7 of the Daily Nation. On the front page of the Star, grand rematch. This is what is captured on the front page of the Star newspaper. Uhuru's shadow looms large in new battle against Ruto. That story is told on page 4 and 5 of the Star newspaper. President Ruto's legacy projects in limbo as debt chokes budget. President William Ruto's grand vision for Kenya is teetering on the edge as the crushing weight of the country's public debt threatens to derail his most ambitious promises. Fresh budget disclosures reveal Kenya is set to spend 1.9 trillion in the next financial year solely on debt repayment. Read that story on page 6 of the Star newspaper. How taxman is using AI to scan cargo at Kenya border point. That story is told on page 7. Climate smart farming transforming lives in Tharaka Nithi County. That story is told on page 9 of the Star newspaper. On the front page of the Standard newspaper, repressive regime. This is what is captured on the front page of the Standard. In its latest review, the UN has delivered a scathing rebuke to President Ruto's administration over its use of retrogressive tactics, including extrajudicial killings, abductions, and forced disappearances, and curbs on civic space and constitutionally guaranteed freedoms. While previous governments under Mwai Kibaki and Uhuru Kenyatta faced criticism, the current regime stands accused of flying the flag of outright abuse. That story is told on page 2, 3, and 4 of the Standard newspaper. That is what is captured on our local dailies. And now I'm joined by Wakili Ken Odhiambo, advocate of the High Court. Welcome to the program. And also Patrick Osoi, who is a security, politics, leadership and governance expert. Karibu sana.
Asante.
And also Joab Konji Kwayo, who is also aspiring to be the next MP from Mbeere North. Karibu sana to the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
So let me start with you actually. Yep. Why is that important for you?
Running for Member of Parliament for Mbeere North is important to me because I've been community service for the last, I think, 7 years now.
Yes.
So I would say it's a calling.
Yeah. Patrick Osoi, you
Yes.
have ambitions too.
Absolutely, and I'm happy that I'm sitting to a potential aspirant.
Yeah.
And in any case, he does not have a political party. We are going to talk about it. And we see the vision that he has for the Mbeere North is actually one of the places that I want to make sure that we display the young and youthfulness, reality on the politics.
Yeah.
At the same time, I want to say that I'm running for the Kenyan 60th president. I am not in the opposition. I believe in oversight. So I don't oppose the government.
Yes.
I oversee the government. We tell them what they're supposed to do and what no they're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
So that's Patrick Osoi.
Yes. Ogili, how about you?
Not yet. We are still engaging with the people at different levels.
Yes.
When the time is right, we'll make that decision.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's been a minute since we saw each other here on Good Morning Kenya.
Yes, true.
You've been well.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get, I want to get a feel of your sentiments on this headline, especially when it comes to the headline on the Daily Nation, the enemy within. In a rare public disclosure, the National Intelligence Service Director General Nurdin Haji yesterday said the country must be told the brutal truth about the magnitude of national security threats posed by foreign militia. I will start with you, Patrick, because this is your field. What's your take on this?
Once again, my name is Patrick Osoi, the sixth, if you want to call me that. And I want to say that I'm a member or I'm a retired Special Force soldier in KDF. And I also served in the National Intelligence Service of our country. So the issues that are addressed in that page actually personally touches me. And actually the first thing that I saw was a tweet that I would want to read from Honorable Salah Yukub, an MP. And this is what he says: where the intelligence of this country, like where is the intelligence of this country? No informers recruited in the field, monies meant for informers going to secondary teachers, politically correct elders, former MCAs, county employees, and even militia in Somali. Mandera is crying, Garissa is crying, no relationship with the communities in AS phone areas, politicizing the recruitment of NPR and Masawersre by the Intel community, PESA for equipping SOGs, and QUs going to support militia in Raskaboni. We demand some seriousness from this government in combating Al-Shabaab. I want to say this morning that we have decided to politicize everything. And I want to say for the last many years, this country has never prioritized security agencies in this country. And most of the problems that we have had since the foundation of this country has been less concern or less concentration on our security agencies. And I want to tell this country that any country is defined by economic power, military power, and satellite power. So when you talk of military power, it means that the security agency's power. So if we cannot concentrate actually on our security agencies in this country, we forget about economic power. And much of the problem we have, even camping corruption in this country, is due to less concentration on the security agencies in this country. So when I saw the video from Director General Nurdin Haji, who used to be my assistant director then at Counterintelligence, is a man who is very quiet. If he speaks, I can tell you for a fact, his speech was addressed to either to the National Security Council or to the President himself. And that means to me that he has gotten to a place where probably he's talking and telling the National Security Council or the President what needs to be done, and it's not done. The other day, I also observed a whole Inspector General of Police being hurled some once by a politician in a political rally. And it is the high time for security agencies in this country to understand and to know they have to stand firm and they have to join together. And if need be, if the government cannot listen to the queries of what they have, then an action need to be taken. Because one, we cannot jeopardize the security of our country at an expense of politicians. What I'm saying is that I have direct complaint from my colleagues that I used to work with, because you will always get those things because I'm now in the political space. So most of the cries it's given to people like us to speak them out. And I want to say that there has been a cry. At one point, I actually mistook our top bosses in the security agencies, including my Director General, Nordin Haji, and the CDF of Kenya Defence Forces. And I felt that they had failed to some extent actually to voice how they stand and where this country is supposed to go. And my take this morning and my advice to them this morning is to stand firm with no yes, yes sir, yes sir. The country and especially the president has to be told the truth so that now we do not jeopardize the security of this country. I want to tell you, the members of parliament that come from extremities of this country, especially borders, I am telling you, for an MP to talk about this is something that is beyond repair. And as my last comment, I want to say this, and the government of the day need to listen. And I've said I don't oppose the government. We oversight the government. And in the future, we need to divert from opposition and we get into oversighting the government so that we tell the government what to do and what not to do. And because the success of this country, the success of William Ruto is the success of every human being or every citizen of this country. So I cannot just to come to oppose him to fail because I'm running for Kenyan president. No, it is my patriotic obligation to make sure that I advise the government of the day the way it's supposed to do. Right now, as we talk, sir, it's a very serious thing in the security issues today. Today, when I joined the Kenya Defence Forces, people we never used to pay taxes. We were provided with food and everything. Today, what we are hearing is that Kenya Defence Forces, actually even the privileges of food was taken from them. That not being said, when we go to National Intelligence Service, right now, forget about the informers who are supposed to help in collecting intelligence in this country. We are talking about the officers of National Intelligence Service not being paid their dues, and especially something we call task force money to gather intelligence or to conduct the intelligence of this country. A country that does not prioritize security, it is a failed country. And let me tell you, that should be the priority than anything else.
All right. Joab, has this issue been in some way politicized?
I would. This issue is so fresh. It just came up in the air, and I must say it's a critical issue because security is a core thing. Is a core thing in the running of a country, and if you're not funded, you cannot be able to work the way you're supposed to work. So basically, the points being raised, I would say, are valid points of underfunding. And what I may want to mention is, as we talk about underfunding, remember in this country we've been here. We know where we have come from. For example, in terms of debt, we know where we have come from in terms of cost of living. For example, things are just becoming easier. And what I would say on my side is considerations of instead of saying we need an additional dollar, we can also look at aspects of the efficiency of using the dollar that we already have. I'm saying that from a background of efficient systems that are run even in other countries where it is not necessarily budget heavy, but it is so efficient that the country is getting the security that it needs. I'm coming from a point, I spent my initial years of my career in Rwanda. Rwanda is one of the most secure countries in the world, you may say. Used to walk around the streets, midnight, anytime. But it's not the investment security that has made this possible. It is the efficiency of deploying the security systems. For example, if you look at what we are trying to achieve today, the Nyumba Kumi initiative, the flow of information through intelligence, it is too solid, spending too little, but so effective to get the security of the country. So what I would say is, as we look at budgetary additions, let us look at the efficiency of the monies that are already allocated in security.
Indeed. Wakili, you know, Director General is not a person who appears before parliamentary committees very often. But this time round, there was the presence of the media. How would you say, is the situation that bad?
No, for me, I find everything wrong with it because the principal advisor on matters of security, the president, advises the president. So I think these are issues. What he has done is an insecurity in itself. If people can now know that even our NIS now do not have the ability to detect security issues as it should under the Constitution and under the act that creates it. So really, I think this should have been handled where it should have been, not at the media level where now we know that, in fact, first, Kenyans are not feeling safe. That is one. Two, the reason we have NIS, because now they are behaving like police. NIS should have given us intelligence information. But now where they have reached, they are also giving our would-be attackers private information that, we have no capacity.
So in a way, you feel like this exposed the country?
I don't know the wisdom behind what they have done, because actually it exposes the country to attacks, because now you've told your opponent that have no capacity to detect what you want to do. We have nothing, we are underfunded, we are porous from all sides, and you are telling everybody. Now it is on the front page. So I think that would have been, I think some things belong to a memoir. They don't belong to consumption by the public, or because now, if he told us maybe 10 years later how the situation was when he was acting in that capacity as Director General, then we would understand. But if he's a sitting Director General, who is is with the sole work of getting intelligence and then finding a way of getting countermeasures, and he's saying openly that we now lack capacity, we may not be able to handle what we're supposed to do under the Constitution and under the Act of Parliament. We are also not doing our role properly as the principal advisor of the President. So I think maybe they wanted a reaction from the right places, but I think, in my view, it is very ill-advised coming from NIS. It's like police have gone for Mandamano or the army. That this has happened. Even that time, like our colleague has said, that the army is no longer being given, I don't know, food, I don't know, some things are not being given. Now, if the army would come out openly and start laying what they have missed and why the country is now at risk because they're not getting 1, 2, 3, that we have old weapons, we can't fight back. What are you trying to communicate? I think it's a very wrong communication to members of the public and to even people who would be interested in hurting the country.
But do you think also it's a call for help from the powers that be, that we need this?
People have heard that the government of the day does not listen. And it is taken like it's just casual. And I want to say this. We have facilities in this country, facilities that we have used to train other countries within our borders. And I want to say our standards as Kenyan operators, or the Kenyan Defense Forces, or Kenyan intelligence, or Kenyan police, I want to say, in comparison to our neighbors or people who might be of threat, even if we are having retrogressive approach in security matters, I can attest and say that we are better off than any other person within the East Africa. By the time I was training as a special force soldier, we were being told that Uganda was also catching up with our training, that the first approach of what we were given. So we were told that Uganda and already embraced that kind of training. So, but that not being said, that I want to tell Kenyans and the country at large that our security forces, even if we have an retrogressive approach, we are still on the higher end in comparison to our neighbors. So that not being said, we have a training area that I may not disclose, But that area right now, as I'm being informed, is that people are going there for leisure because it was built for training. And before, this training area used even actually to give the government some, you know, when we train other countries, of course we have to sell them some other things, weapons and ammunitions. But right now what we are seeing is that the area is actually isolated. And what is being used for is some top government officials and other people who have no profile in this country going to that place and having leisure in that place. And I want to say this, and I want to have this call to the Director General and to the Kenya Defence Forces, because it's an area that is used for that reasons. That they should be strict. Let us not compromise the standards of security in this country. It does not matter who, but the standards has to be kept. And if it is the truth, has to be laid on the table. And the fact that our Director General, Nordine Haji, spoke, I want to tell you, it is beyond reproach. It is something that probably the intelligence are already trying to pose. I am aware. 2012, there was a discussion that was laid and went through the National Intelligence Service, even to increase salaries for police, to increase salaries for Kenya Defence Forces. But guess what happens? It was taken to the parliament. And these people in the parliament who do not understand what it is to have a solid security of a country, they decided to, you know, to say, you know, when we pay our police officers nicely or Kenya Defence Forces nicely, these people watakuwa kichwa ngumu. But what I want to say is that it is a high time for this country to look and see what is important, what is the priority. But what I can tell them, security is not a joke. Indeed. And that is why we are suffering as a country. Because, and that is why, one of the reasons I decided to run for Kenyan presidency, because there's a lot of jokes around. All right. People have run away from the discipline. They have not run away from understanding the call for a country having secure borders. All right.
Now we talk about something different, and it regards the nominations of IEBC commissioners by the president. The names have been forwarded to Parliament for vetting. So, and also it has elicited quite a number of responses from the political class, with Kalonzo Musyoka saying the due process was not followed. Even also the ELOG have also cast doubts on the process. But the biggest question here is, are their views or sentiments valid? That is what we are going to tackle right about now. And Joab, I want to start with you. Erastus Ethekon was the one who was nominated to head that commission, or to be the chair of the IEBC. First of all, what do you make of these appointments?
Thank you, Mike. For me, where I stand right now, I may say this is expected. It is expected that the appointments for the IEBC commissioners must elicit, of course, reactions from the parties, the competing parties. Of course, if the judge is not fair, who is the Electoral Commission, you don't stand a chance to be able to get a fair hearing. So basically, I would say, looking at how the process went, yes, there's reason for the opposition, for example, to raise questions and raise suspicions of the executive having a hand in the selection, basically because of the addition of the 6 names that came after the shortlisting was done. But when you look at it from a technical perspective, the panel that is charged with shortlisting is still the panel that did the shortlisting. So what I can say is the executive hand is just suspicion, and we cannot dismiss that. When you look at the people we are talking about, for example, the person who has been selected as the chair is a qualified person to be the chair of IBC. And coming from Mbeere North, every time I see a star coming from a minority community, I say, yeah, something is happening in Kenya that is not being sourced from the pool of the large communities. So I don't have a problem with the selection that has gone on.
Yes. Wakili, what do you make of these nominations so far?
One, I don't want to cast aspersions on the capability of anyone.
Yes.
But firstly, the panel, I had a big issue with the panel. I don't know how some of the people got into that panel, selecting commissioners. Yes, I was shocked, like how these were the best we could get to shortlist candidates, to interview them and shortlist them. I think there was something totally wrong with some members of that panel. Should not have been there. Two, the issue of the people that have been appointed, there have been an issue of what Mheshimiwa here is saying, suspicion of bias. You know, when the suspicion of bias, that's a real thing that happens when you introduce lists. There are already people that are there, you introduce a list. Now, I believe that the current chairman was a compromise candidate because there was already rumors that it's only going to narrow down to 2 people, to Amadi, the former registrar of the Supreme Court, and now Nyachai.
Yes.
So now it was coming to now who next do you appoint? So I think then it came to the advocate Erastus. And if you look at, and I don't want to say he's not qualified for the job because we've been going downhill since the time of Isaac Hassan. I wouldn't say the late Chebukati was any better. I wouldn't say Isaac Hassan was any better. What the qualifications are, you look at the candidate chairman and say, is he qualified to be a Supreme Court judge? That is the qualification of the chairman. So if you look, you just look at the Supreme Court.
Yes.
Then say, if you were thinking of a Supreme Court judge, would you think of Erastus as a as a Supreme Court judge? He was the county attorney of Turkana.
Yes, yes.
And before that, he was largely a consultant, though he runs a farm, but largely a consultant. So you must have been a practitioner for 15 years plus.
Of law.
Of law. Or you must have been a distinguished scholar in the academic world, or a distinguished scholar, and distinguished may be used loosely.
Yes.
So if you have not been an advocate practicing for 15 years in aggregate, and you have not been either judicial officer for 15 years, or you have not been a distinguished scholar for 15 years,
Yes.
then now you cannot be appointed as the chairman. Now the question is, does he fit that? Because I think he has been a practitioner. You know, we see how advocates he has been an advocate
Yes.
for about slightly above 20 years.
Yes.
So now the question is, has he practiced law for 15 years plus? So when he was county attorney, we may assume, let's put the 6 for 6 years.
Yes.
So where's this 9 years? Where was he? Because if you look at his history, was in the UN for some time. So was he engaging as a lawyer at that point? So if he was not, then does he qualify to be a Supreme Court judge, which is the qualification for being a chairman? So that is one. My feeling is that he was a compromise candidate for the position, because now those other names that were there, that were largely expected to win, already people are feeling like this one is associated to this person.
There's a perception.
There's a perception.
Yes.
That if you pick Nyachai, this one is for the president. If you pick Anna Madi, it could be representing this person. So I think that's why it was more of a compromise candidate for me. And the issue of other candidates like Hassan, who came in late, and then he got appointed. You know, now the question is presumption of bias, and it is really there, because if today your case is being heard by someone in a court, and then last minute before the judgment, a new judge is brought in. The other judge is not sick, you see him walking around, and you are told, now this is your new judge. Even before the judgment, how will you feel? You will feel that there is an attempt to interfere with the process. So I think that's where people are having issues. Other players are feeling like there's interference from the president. But I was also thinking today is that can we rethink on the law on appointment of IBC commissioners? That is a story for another day. Because if the president is an active participant in a next election, but is also the appointing authority of these persons, already anybody, that's why opposition politics, we have always been, we cannot go to the elections with the IBC as constituted. That has also been the clarion call. And the reason has been simple, that the president appoints, a president who is going to run is now appointing commissioners. Now, as an IBC commissioner, and someone may not get it, you may think other places also the president appoints. No. You find like Judicial Service Commission actually does everything. The president now just has to approve. It's like a rubber stamping. But in this case, the president actually has an obligation to choose from a list and say, he did not participate in the interview. 1, 2, 3, I'll pick one. Now, if you have been selected through that process, you are 5 of you, the president decides to pick you. When things are tough, who will you side with? So I think going forward, we will think of whether this panel can be given powers to actually finalize and say, we have selected this person as the chairman. We have selected these commissioners. So the president only assents and then takes it to parliament. And it's done. Rather than having the president now choose who's going to be an active participant in an election, is supposed to choose in a list of 3 and say, I've selected this person, I've left this one. I think that is what creates this fear. That because if we had a different law, then now even His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka will not be having a problem. But now he's like, I'm going to compete with this guy. He has already appointed this person and the commissioners. And now that's where the feeling of bias comes in.
All right. Osoi, I mean, are these questions being raised valid? Are they valid? And also, what is your take on the nominations?
I want to say that I saw the letter by His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka, and I also want to emphasize this. We are also stakeholders to the process, and all stakeholders should have been involved. And by this, I mean that if it is a delegate from the political parties or from any other angle to help the process of nominating or electing or having the process of commissioners on board, and also to put across what Wakili has said, I'm asking myself, how do you expect a person to be impartial if this person was put in office by a particular individual? It is something not to talk about. But what I would want to recommend and what I think the future should hold to, we need to have a referendum in this country. 1, to separate security agencies from the executive, to separate IBC from the executive, whereby the president only becomes a signatory or a rubber stamp of what has already been tabled to him. This is because that we will allow the bodies to be independent, or we will allow these bodies to be impartial. And there's been a lot of complaint all around about the state getting involved into a lot of issues. And that one will help us, this country. And I want to say this. We have a problem of integrity in this country. We have a problem of honesty in this country. We have a problem of nepotism in this country. And also now the trust issues are the apex, whereby we have a lot of mistrust among ourselves, especially Kenyans. And my question is, if the suspicions are this high, and we have not even gone to elections, how will it be when we are nearing the elections? And the other day I mentioned and I said, it is paramount for the security agencies and the IBC to begin to collaborate to make sure that we do not end up in post-election violence. This means that during the election time or during the voting time, these two has to come together to protect the interest of Kenyans. And they need to be very impartial, not leaning to the state. At the same time, what I'm also looking at, I'm looking at the circumstances whereby these people who have been put in place as commissioners,
Yes.
and who are supposed to appear before a person, an individual. There's been a lot of, allegations. This person belongs to that, is a relative to that, and all that stuff. And I've always said, the problem is not who you're known to, or where you come from, whether minority or majority.
Yes.
But the problem is, are you able to follow the law to the letter? And this country is known, and I can tell you, the problem we are suffering in this country, one is governance problem, and two, I would say, is corruption problem. Those are the two major things. If this country can be able to observe rule of the law, if this country can be able to observe transparency, accountability, and all those scope that are within the governance, let me tell you, we will not have any problem whoever becoming whatever they want to become in this country. But right now, I want to tell you, as one of the stakeholders and the person aspiring to run for Kenyan president 2027, I am very skeptical. And I'm very skeptical by what is happening and the mistrust within the people. But what I would call for these people, that whether they appear before the president, whether they are whoever is appointed to or commissioned to be, but they have to have a call to be patriotic and let them exercise their duties with due diligence and without favoring any person. So that is the only call we can call, because right now, if we begin to go to court and dragging the IBC not to be constituted, my friend here, Honorable from Berry North, will not have a by-election. So we cannot continue. We cannot say that we want to go to court to actually maybe calm the process. But what we are calling is that these people, once you get into office, you have to know one thing. We are in a dispensation where it is not like the former dispensation. You have to be diligent. Otherwise, Kenyans are very hungered. And if by any chance you do something that is against the will of the people, it might end up not being a good story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Joab, the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of the Parliament is expected to vet the nominees. But also, with that happening, cases of perception, now that those questions have been raised, how does it impact the perception of the commission now within the public domain?
Yeah, sorry, the sixth.
Yes.
As said correctly, yeah, there are flaws. There are flaws in the whole process that you can credit maybe to our system of governance, the presidential system. The mandate is to the president by the people to be able to make these decisions. So as much as we would want to distance ourselves from this aspect, we may not be able to unless we change the constitution. Because we are running a presidential system where we say the president needs to govern this process as the person that has mandate from people, from the people. So what I may say about perceptions is this is a journey. Politics around it will be there, will be expected. There is a lot of noise right now on the process. You can hear someone like Kalonzo Musyoka, one side of the mouth, he says the process is not fair, he will go to court and fight it out. On the other side of the mouth, he's saying, even if you make yourself the chairman of IEBC, I'll still win. So I take this as the way of life, which politics is. And perceptions will be shaped as we go on. One thing that I need to say, we need the IBC. We can't run a country without the IBC. And it is urgent, just like what he says. I'm running for the by-election for Berry North. And for Konji Kwayo to be on the ballot, we need to have an IBC. We don't want our people staying like this constituency in Garissa that has stayed for 2 years without an MP. Yeah. You know, without an MP, you're not able to execute new projects in CDF. There's a lot of things that needs to be done with in the communities that are not being done because of this gap. So I say, however you do it, as long as we have a presidential system, there will be noise around it unless we come together and say, let's change the constitution. We have a lot of wins in having a presidential system. So we can't say because of one little thing that we can be able to see. For example, in the independence of this institution, we are going to throw away the old system. So employing a wait and see how the reactions come as we have the confirmation of the IBC officials come.
Yes. Yeah. Wakili, you know, perception affects trust.
Yes.
But then again, there's a commission that is entrusted to run the presidential election. So the question here is, how do we ensure that the commission that is being instituted inspires public confidence and trust that the elections that we are going to in 2027 will be free and fair?
I think as my colleague says, where the problem starts is the appointing authority. So there will always be issues. When the person going to compete chooses the judge. So this is the president has the power under the constitution, that is his mandate, to now appoint. Now, and the president is a candidate in the election. So you will always have a sense of biasness. And that is why we have always had this issue with the IBC. And I think it's at the time of the Kivitu time, ECK, and how the 2007 election was bungled. From that time, there has never been any trust in the election process. And now, the fact that the president appoints, because a president ordinarily would not want to leave office, because you heard the president says, his supporters are saying, Kumi Bila break. He's also saying we'll win the morning. Yes. But now he's the appointing authority. He's saying now this is the referee. So I think going forward, I think we need to relook at the role of the president in establishment of the commission. Especially if a president is supposed to run again. Because because there would be no trust if you get into a place, you have an issue with someone, you reach there, you find that his father is the judge. He may be a honest man.
Yes.
He may even do justice.
Yes.
But you will feel like I may not get justice from this.
Yes.
Even with assurances that, you know, this is a very good man, he's actually a pastor.
Yes.
But you see, you'll be like, no, I don't think. So if we don't change that law, and that's what I was saying, if we can decide that IBC, the work is finalized by somebody, so that the president's role is limited.
Yes.
But the moment we give the president that overriding role in appointing these people, you will always be doubting because no one wants to leave office. So I think that's the only way we can build trust. Minus that, I think we'll always have complaints. And that's why even last time you were hearing Chebukati must go when Raila was running with the President Uhuru Kenyatta. They were saying Sakasan must go and all that. And they were saying, no, we can even bring Oburu Odinga to run to be the IBC chairman so that you are satisfied, but we will still win. You get. But these things are real. So if we can work around that to build, because we know our country. You know, we cannot be acting like we are developing democracy. We have not reached there yet. So before we reach there, we should now have those safeguards and say, we cannot trust the president to do this role, especially when he's running back to office. So I think if we don't change that, there's nothing we can do to build, very little, to build public trust. Because those candidates, as you've heard, the leading candidates are going to oppose the nomination. So once they oppose, they have supporters. Their supporters will also be opposing. So technically, it will be difficult to...
But then again, we've taken a long time to reach at this point or so. But also, you'd wonder, do we have to oppose everything?
Let me say that the opposition demeanor is coming because of the happenings of the day. So there's a lot of happenings around the country that you actually cannot trust anything. Because, for example, I want to say that the call for the people to participate in governance in this country is zero. There is no given time that the Kenyans people or the citizens of this country participate in governing this country. So tell me, how do you expect the same Kenyans to actually trust the system that does not make them to participate in that process of governance? And I also want to say this. You want to tell me the appointing authority, president being involved, and then now taken again to the parliament, whereby we know these parliamentarians are geared or they lean their allegiance to a certain particular party, also a certain particular person. So there's no given time. Anything that has been approved by the president will fail in the parliament. And I want also to say that in future we need to see a parliamentary system that is not controlled by which political party took you to parliament or is controlled by individuals within the parliament. Can we have a parliament system that is, you know, is there to discuss issues with no impartiality? And to date, I'll say that even those commissioners having been taken to parliament for finalizing the process, expect them to pass. There's nothing else we can discuss here to say that they are going to be any different from what the president approved. Because these are one of the same people that are trying and who are wooed or are wavered by their masters. So what I want to call for these Kenyans who will be privileged to run the commission, please to understand, the era that we are in is a very sensitive era. They have to have pure and correct possession to make sure that they assure us and people like us who are stakeholders that there will be free and fair elections. But in any case, as Wakili Ken said, it is very, very impossible. And that is why we are calling for a referendum to separate those powers. Actually to separate some powers whereby the president does not entirely get involved in selection, even of our senior police officers, our senior Kenya Defense Forces officers, and also the IBC as a body. Because these are bodies that are expected to be independent. These are bodies that are expected to be impartial. So they can't, if the appointing authority is the state, even if it were me, and I know you are the appointing authority, I'll be a yes person, so that you were able to give me the privilege to become maybe a Major General in Kenya Defense Forces. Why? When you become a Major General in Kenya Defense Forces, you go home with all the privileges. So you can imagine I'm a brigadier and I want to go to the next rank. I have to play my allegiance to the appointing authority. And to avoid such issues in any bodies that are expected to be independent, we have to have separate commissions, either from the retirees or from group of lawyers or group of security agencies who left the service, to be a governing council, to do if it is promotions of the generals or promotions of people, or to place IBC commissioners in place. It should be something that is very independent. But as per now, what we can only do, because now we are not yet there, is to urge these people that are who have been fronted to be commissioners to be very sensitive and to know we are in an era whereby you cannot make any mistake, and Kenyans are watching, and they are very, very, very annoyed. We need to have a system that we can trust.
All right. Job, you know, JLAC is yet set to vet them. Do you expect any different recommendations from them?
I have no expectations of them either turning down the appointees. I'm expecting that this will pass.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wakili.
Yes, I understand, Mheshimiwa, why he wants to go for elections now. So
Yesterday,
he doesn't care what IBC, doesn't care which IBC is there. So really, of course, we don't expect much to change. People have been waiting for IBC. So I think first is the anticipation. Some constituencies don't have MPs so far for a very long time. There's a constituencies that are being run by constituency managers. They don't have MPs. So this is, people just want to get over with it. And also Parliament as constituted, we also know how it behaves now. It is behaving like, it's called what? It's called, there's the word they're using that I like. Worship what?
The masters.
This worship worship team.
Yes.
So they'll also just approve it. We know how they now operate. Parliament currently, as it is, they'll only, once the president signs, I think they think their work is also just to approve. So I think we don't expect them to return any names. Though I was concerned about one of the appointees. I have this issue of perennial public appointees. Like I think the register of political parties is also a commissioner now.
Yeah. He was.
Yeah, she's now one of the commissioners.
Registrar.
Yes, and I was wondering, and we had very many issues. I think when I was dealing with political issues at that office of regional political parties, I'm surprised he's made it to commissioner.
It might be the assistant actually.
Yes. So I'm wondering how some people decided to be perennial public appointees. You leave this one, you stay 10 years, then before you retire, there's another one waiting for you. So I think that is an issue, but we know that Parliament as it is not able to contradict the President. So there is I think they are called the worship team, where they just agree and approve and things move on.
Can't we qualify that, Wakili, as what you call as a perennial appointment as accumulation of experience?
Okay, what we are saying is that there are other Kenyans who need to serve. Yes, you can take your experience maybe to farming now.
Also, what is your expectation from all this? Do you expect a different outcome?
As I've said, it is not possible for the Parliament to turn down what especially the President has approved. And as we are aware right now that the opposition, the so-called opposition, headed by Right Honorable Raila Odinga, is in band with the government. So we are actually seeing, we will actually see a lot of harmonization of making the process to be smooth as possible. Because right now, you know, there is balance for that. Anyway, what we want to say is that we wish them well. And what I will always affirm to say is that we wish them well, but they need to be very cautious. This time, elections, commissioners, you have to be very impartial because you have to choose either Kenyans or to serve your masters. And in this time, Kenyans are ready to make sure that you serve them to the letter.
Gentlemen, your time is very much appreciated. Thank you for making time. That is Patrick Osoi, who is a security politics, leadership and governance expert, Wakili Ken Odhiambo, who is an advocate of the High Court, and Joab Konji Kwaya, who is an aspirant for Mbeere North seat for the MP, joining us here on Good Morning Kenya to talk about matters to do with people and politics.